Hello, my name is Val Miklausich, and this is the Legacy Studio team. We are super excited to have a conversation around the comic industry and really what we're setting out to do. So we're sitting here in New York, just a little level setting. We're sitting here in New York, and our goal is to meet with artists at New York Comic Con. We are working to build a brand around the protection of artists as well as providing an exceptional customer experience. So with that said, I'm going to kick it off with some introductions just so everybody can get to know each other. Val, why don't you start?
My name is Val Miklausich. I am also the co-founder of the Legacy Studio. And like Victoria said, we're here to kind of experience New York Comic Con with some of our trial artists and kind of get an idea of what we're looking at moving forward for future cons and future business ideas, and hoping to make this business grow.
Absolutely. Sarah, who are you? What do you do?
I'm not sure what my title is.
All the things. Co-founder.
Sarah of all the things.
My name's Sarah. I work with Victoria and Val, helping the Legacy Studio grow and be amazing. I'm not quite sure what my title is, to be honest, but that's all right.
She's our studio manager.
There we go. I'm a studio manager.
Okay, perfect. So let's tell everybody listening, why are we starting this business? Think, Val, you're probably best suited to give a little bit of history about how you got into the comic industry as a consumer, and then we'll pipe in about what we're doing.
I've been in the, I guess we'll say the collectibles industry essentially all my life. My father's big into collecting sports cards, football, baseball, you name it. So growing up, he took me to a bunch of essentially card conventions at that time.
Okay.
Where I would, tag along and, essentially just try to see what he was doing. And then I would pick up my own pieces of a comic book here and there, or a comic book related card here and there, which I still have to this day, which is pretty funny. But he was the one that taught me, essentially to value collectibles. So I have cards and comics that essentially I purchased and have sat in the container for,
in their original boxes.
30 years.
They've never been opened.
Some toys never been opened, so stuff like that.
I'm just going to let the audience know that I'm going to start charging storage fees.
Oh my gosh, enough.
Are they on display?
I have some on display. When I recently got back into kind of full comic book collecting is when I started to pull these items out. And then when I would pull them out, I'd say, you know what? I'm at the stage now where it's financially viable for me to have them protected and graded and all that stuff. So I think it was early on, probably 2018, 2019, somewhere around there, where one of my comic books from me growing up, early 90s, foil comic book, which, everybody knows from the early 90s, you got to have that foil comic book.
Sarah and I have no idea.
You guys are clueless, but it hurts my brain. But yeah, foil comic book. And I had a good artist that drew the cover that was doing a signing at CGC. And I said, you know what, now's the time to let me grab this book. I'll clean it up a little bit. I'll send it over there, have him draw on it, do a little sketch, remark is what they call it. And then, I'll send it back. And now that way it'll be encapsulated and essentially forever protected, which I felt really confident in because as a kid, I like to protect my stuff. And this is an opportunity for me to protect my comic books and protect my stuff. So, that kind of got the ball rolling again. So I was very interested in comic book covers and essentially comic book art. And like I said before, growing up, just kind of consuming some of these small pieces. Now I'm at the stage of my life where I can start to buy original pieces and have original commissions done and all that. So I've been fortunate enough to travel to some of these conventions, to meet some of these artists firsthand, to communicate with them, and then to get an idea of, kind of the struggles that they have in the industry, right? And they're dealing with a lot of misrepresentation or lack thereof completely. Nobody's watching out after them. They're either out for themselves or they're out for a specific, either a convention representation or an original art representation, but not the full package. And it was those in-between times that I saw these guys and women getting taken advantage of. And it was one of those where I just felt like that was something that, I knew that we could do something about. It was something that plagued me for a while. And, I know when Vic tells the story, she always says that she kept telling me, hey, you should do something about this. You should do something about this. And I didn't know what to do. But fortunately enough, she has a background that can contribute to that. And then, fortunately enough, again, she knows you and you can keep everything together. And then, as a group, I think this is it. I think this is, this is what we need to be doing. I think this is a good idea, a great idea. And I think that we can really help out the community. We really help out the individuals that we could protect and represent. And so.
I think it was interesting because I'm a serial entrepreneur. I feel like I think of business ideas every day. And some of them, I am not only a serial entrepreneur, but I also like to start things and not finish them. And so it is important that when we started this, that I had a team like you guys to hold my crazy ideas through fruition. And so when you started to have these issues as a consumer, and I'll just kind of name a few, you would buy an original piece of art, sometimes $1,000 or more, and we wouldn't hear from the artist. You would sometimes not get it for a couple of years, and the communication in between was really not that great. And so as we're buying other products online or in person, you have trackability, you know exactly when you're going to get it. You're going to be given an estimate of time of when you're going to get it. And that just didn't exist in this industry. And then when we started to go to cons, I come from a marketing, events, public relations background. And it was kind of wild to me. I kind of felt like I was stepping back into time when I would go to these conventions because, people are still using these kind of paper boards as backgrounds. Whereas the industry I come from, it is very technology focused, technology driven. So I felt like between your customer experience, your operations and logistics mind, my marketing, PR background, and with the addition of you, Sarah, who just keeps us on track, we had a trio that really, I think, is going to revolutionize the industry. My goal is, and within the part of the business that I want to own and manage, is to provide an exceptional customer experience. I think it's so important that the customer is able to know that they can trust the company they're buying from. They know when they're going to get it. They're going to get it in a timely manner, and they're going to have exceptional communication from start to finish. So I'm really excited about that. And then the second thing I'm really excited about is the branding and the management of the artist. As we were starting this business, we've done a lot of research around the pain points and the things that these artists are dealing with. And I would love to hear from you some of the horror stories that we've heard as we have embarked on meeting with these artists and the things that they go through that I don't think the consumer really gets to see. I was kind of shocked when I heard some of these horror stories. So why don't you share a few?
Really, like you said, a lot of it is customer experience focused, right? Where it's one of those where you communicate with somebody and they have so much on their plate that they can't effectively manage their workload. They can't effectively manage their communications, and they shouldn't have to because they're creating for everybody else. So in that space, like you said, right, I would discuss with somebody a piece of art or something, and I would start that process, and then it would be a year, maybe even more later, sometimes 2 years, where either I wouldn't even hear anything, I wouldn't see anything, there was no feedback, there was no communication, and it's kind of like this just disjointed experience, right? I think that's the simplest form. On the other side of it, right, that's consumer focused, but on the artist focused side, right, I've met a bunch of outstanding individuals who were essentially working for free, right? They would create a comic book cover for a publisher or for a comic store, or even just a whatnot channel or whatever it would be, and they'd create this book and they wouldn't get paid, right? And it was like, what do you mean you didn't get paid? Well, this book the art was already turned over, it was scanned, it was printed, it was put on covers, it was distributed, it was sold. The company's already making money off of you and you haven't gotten paid. how is this possible and why is this okay? And that's one of those things that just sparked something in my mind of like, this shouldn't be the standard, you know?
I think coming from the entertainment background that I have, there are management companies that exist for athletes and actors, influencers, yep, and that's kind of the world you come from. That doesn't exist for this industry, and it's kind of crazy if we really think about it. The Marvel DC world, that side of this business is making millions upon millions and millions of dollars, and I struggle because these artists that support that aren't getting the representation and the protection that they deserve. So, Sarah, I'd love to hear from you. We've talked to a lot of artists in research for this business about the pain points that they're having, whether it's running their business, whether it's managing communications, whether it's getting contracts reviewed. Tell us a little bit about what we heard from the artists from their perspective that they're really struggling with on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah, it's a good question. I think for everyone that we've talked to, they weren't able to focus on what they love. They couldn't produce art nonstop all day when their creative juices were flowing because they had other things to worry about. And that's where we come in. We allow them to do the art or take the day off or create something that they've never created. And their business is still running, still flourishing, still growing, which is amazing for them. And I think they have support for the first time in their lives. In terms of their business in this business, someone who cares about their well-being, who cares about their growth, who cares about making sure that they're okay, both mentally, professionally, emotionally, all the things.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. I mean, we're in this business to make money. We want to be able to sustain this business in our lives. But I think ultimately our goal is to be an artist first, as well as a customer-centric organization. It is super important that we are constantly tapping into the artist to understand what can we take off their plate. Can we manage communications, still provide an exceptional customer experience, but making sure that the artist has that ability to be an artist first, creator first, because I think, in any of the other content you're hearing from our artists, they have such a gift with what the art that they can produce. But unfortunately, they only get to utilize that gift 10 to 15% of their day because they're emailing, they're figuring out what commissions they have next, they're trying to project plan, they're trying to pitch themselves, they're trying to do all these things. When if we can take that on, we are the experts of those things and provide that ability for that artist to focus on what they do best. I honestly think we have a win-win.
Well, and like Sarah was saying, right? It's when they want to do stuff in between their projects.
Yeah.
We're here to make sure that the business thrives.
Absolutely.
So, they go to a con in January and they go to a con in, May, right? Sometimes there's nothing in between.
Yeah.
Right. We've heard from several artists that like there's a dead period between January and March and, whatever it is. Like that's our job to fill that. Right.
Absolutely.
And they shouldn't be just going from con to con. Like they should have a pipeline of work steady. And that's something that we can provide and then monitor and manage for them so that they don't have to. Right?
Yeah, I'll give an example because some would say don't share this because it's a trade secret and, maybe we could get our leg up on this. But at the end of the day, I feel like we need to challenge the industry to step up. And the example I'll give is we have been to 10 plus cons this year. You've purchased multiple $1,000 commissions. You've purchased art. You've purchased prints. You've purchased lots of things off of people's table. And I think in probably 30, 40, 50 plus purchases, you've received one post-con email, which is just shocking to me. And I think that shows the representation options that exist today for artists. The customer engagement, customer branding, the relationship building can't stop when the doors of the cons close. It has to continue from con to con. And that can happen through social media, that can happen through email, that can happen through content like this. And ultimately, we want our artists to showcase who they are. We are extremely selective in the artists that we work for. We want to work with artists who are wildly talented in their space. We want to work with artists who want to grow with us. We want to work with artists who are not rude or mean, or I want to say a censored word right now, but I can't. Because it's important to build a community of artists. I'm the visionary of this trio. I envision a world where we have hundreds of acres of land, where we have little mini cabins for artists to come and kind of just escape life and do a little bit of art and unwinding. We want to be a organization that stands for mental health. Val, I'd be really curious for you to share a little bit about the mental health struggles that you have heard from these artists' conversations. They're struggling, whether it's confidence, whether it's belief in their own work or their own longevity in this industry. What did we hear from artists from a mental health perspective?
I mean, it's a complicated industry. I mean, you have a lot of competition, right? And you're constantly trying to get yourself known, and you may not know the right way, and you may not know how or who or what to do. So it's definitely one of those things where, as an individual, you sometimes struggle. Is it something that's internal to me? Is it something that's internal to the industry? And like you said, like, this is something that we want to take on as a company in the short term as much as we can, and then definitely in the long term, as far as making sure that the people that are creating, the creatives, the artists, they're supported, with everything, whether it's mental health, physical health, whatever they need to just make sure that they're taken care of. And it's a stressful time, it's a stressful industry, and I think that's something that, like you said, like, something that we can do, right? We can definitely give them that support they need, and that's part of our legacy, right? That's part of the looking forward to take care of them beyond the con, between the cons, and forever. Like, if the comic industry dies today,
what do you have?
What do you got? Right?
Yeah.
And that's our job, to make sure that they got something, right?
Yeah. Multiple streams of income are super, super, super important. Whether it's creating a product, whether it's creating a class that somebody can take, how do we help them make money while they're sleeping? And that's not to say that you're pushing out stuff that doesn't matter. It does matter. It's just, it is making money while you sleep. Sarah, you don't come from a comic background. A lot of this is new to you and I. What has shocked you kind of coming into this world, things that have surprised you?
So for me, I'm surprised that these artists and these creators and these creatives don't have the structure to be organized, to do what you're talking about: customer retention, email management, sending out marketing things, sending an email. They don't have the structure, the help, or sometimes even the knowledge, based on their backgrounds or based on their peers in this space, to have that structure in their business. Which I think is also really important. You can have 1,000 customers, but if you don't know where to put them, you have zero.
How about you, Val?
Well, I think it's just a continuation of that, right? It may just be, in some cases, it's just the knowledge. Like, you don't understand what it's like from the consumer perspective, which it's one of the reasons why we kind of started this whole thing, right? I've been the consumer for years, and I have the experiences of, like, this is miserable, and working or purchasing things from other industries, and then coming into this and being like, why is this so different? Like, why am I so disconnected from the place that I'm getting my merchandise from or my artwork from, right? So I think that's that's one of those things where they may just not. Sometimes people just don't understand you don't know what you don't know, right? And we've had the conversations on the side with several artists, right, where I think there's been a lot of things that we've recommended that they do, and then they're like, you can visibly see the light bulb go off, and it's like, oh.
And it's no fault of theirs, right? They don't come from a marketing background. They're artists. And that's what really, ultimately, we want to help them build a brand. So from January 1st to December 31st every year, they have a schedule of events. They know where they're going to be going and when. They're not worried about hotel logistics and flight logistics and setting up their booth. They're going to have a killer booth behind them, tech focused, tech forward. They're going to have commission lists throughout the year. They're going to have opportunities to create product. They're going to have opportunities with comic covers. They're going to have more opportunities presented to them as opposed to having to pitch out.
And they're not going to be worried about sales. They're not going to be worried about packaging. They're not going to be worried about distribution.
Right.
Like there's really nothing much to worry about aside from just create.
And that customer service portion, I think, is going to be massive.
I was going to say, if they want to take a vacation, they know that someone's answering their emails.
That's right.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And monitoring their commission lists and getting rid of or getting responses to all the questions and anything that might come in.
And handling the best clients and the worst clients. All they have to see is
thing in between.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll head towards kind of the final couple questions for this episode. So let's talk about roles, because somebody might be watching this and feeling like, who the heck do I reach out to? What are each of you going to do? Maybe they're not wondering that, but we're going to tell them anyway. So Sarah, why don't you tell us about your role within the Legacy Studio?
The best way I can sum it up is I've worked with you for so many years. And my favorite line from Victoria is, I think you said, I need a Sarah in my life.
Yes.
So if you need help with figuring out anything, emails, if you don't remember who you talked to 5 years ago, you can get a Sarah in your life.
Yes.
But I also keep track of like making sure that everyone else is on task. So if you don't hear from someone, if you need help researching things like that, sort of a umbrella overseeing everything in terms of not actually executing, but overseeing and helping organize it.
You have a unique education background.
Yeah, I have a master's in organizational communication, which means I studied how organizations communicate, which is then why I help organizations communicate. But I researched a lot how organizations and companies and businesses are successful and communicate well or not well, and then we learned from that.
Absolutely. That's really exciting. All right, Val, what are you going to do?
So really I'm, like you said, artist facing, right? I'll be typically interacting mainly with the artists themselves. I would like to also be taking on, a lot of the organizational stuff, with
structure,
execution of kind of what Sarah's talking about. A lot of the project management, I think that's kind of where you'll see most of my work. That includes, commission lists and stuff like that. Passion wise, we were talking about it beforehand, passionate for essentially taking care of the artist, essentially the artist advocate, looking for any kind of management they might need as far as, mental health, physical health. I'm looking outside of the artist into the community as far as charities are concerned. And then the project management side of things, where the actual execution of some of the commission lists and some of the things that Sarah was talking about as far as she's the oversight, I'll take care of the operational stuff.
What am I doing?
Everything.
So my role within the Legacy Studio will be to be as wild and creative, to drive brand awareness. My focus is, how do we drive as many eyeballs to these artists as humanly possible? How do we get the customers and the audience and the community to understand who these artists are and to appreciate their work, and then receive an exceptional customer experience? So I will be leading content, social, event activation, branding, all of the fun, creative, wild, non-structured fun, because that's marketing. That's who I am. Let's talk about artists. People may watch this and say, what kind of artists are they looking for? How would you answer that? And I'll ask Sarah the same question.
You may go first.
Yeah.
Okay. So our goal is, ideally we want artists that are, in different, we'll say different genres of art, right? The ideal client base would be, 5 to 10 artists that are doing their own thing in the industry.
Like, we don't all want charcoal artists.
That's right.
Okay.
Not that really matters in the end.
Okay.
I think that's ideal. Just that way we can just walk all the different types and genres out there and see, how we can pursue them and how we can continue to grow all the things. However, right, I think that's kind of a good idea. Not necessary, right? If we had a couple of charcoal artists, I don't care. What I do care about is I want people that are absolutely passionate about their job. I want people that care about the community. I want people that care about this team. So I want a teamwork environment. I don't want a generic 5-table con event with people that don't want to talk to each other. I want a
Community,
right? I want a teamwork style environment. I want a monthly phone call where everybody's on the call. I want get-togethers like this.
Yeah.
Where we're here at a place with our entire team,
Learning from each other,
sharing experiences.
Yeah.
And I think that kind of helps when everybody's kind of doing different things. That way you can see things from different artist perspectives and different genres of art and different mediums and stuff. But I really want passionate, kind people that are willing to work, willing to help the team, willing to help each other. I think it's
a good way to put it.
Yeah, and if you don't fit that bill, then maybe we're not the right fit for you.
Agreed. Sarah?
It's hard to top Val, but
You're welcome.
yeah, thank you. But I would say someone who cares about the end result and the process to get to the end result. Someone who's proud of the work that they produce, proud of the way they get there, and proud of what the end client or customer sees. So not someone who's just, and I'm thinking of an influencer who just puts out content to get paid. I want them to be proud of the content.
Yeah. And I think authentic is a great way to put it.
Yeah.
I will not be a part of a company who's inauthentic. I will not be part of a company that's pushing product to push product. I think we are way too focused on consumerism. I'd rather have 5 of the best things than 100 of the okay things. Our goal is not to, build a 1 million person customer base that's buying, $1 things. Our goal is to give them a quality product that they can love, that they can focus in on in their home, spotlight. So I'm really excited for what is going to be our launch in mid-January 2024. And we are excited to launch with a couple artists, put out our 2024 calendar. But curious from both points of view, December 31st, 2024, just shy of a year anniversary. What will we have accomplished here at the Legacy Studio? Who wants to go first?
I can go first.
Okay.
I think I want to have a solid enough team in the comic book artist sphere and a solid enough organization and structure and management from all of us that we're then branching out into other underrepresented communities, other artists, other creatives, people who do need help with this besides comic book artists. So my goal is to have such a great community that we're then able to expand our community.
1,000%. How about you, Val?
I think I'm going to bring up the timeline a little bit. And I think just around this time next year, I want to be sitting at this table with these same people and this same production crew and 5 more artists, or 5 more creatives that are going to just live out what we envision. And whether it's, like Sarah said, piggyback on that, right? Whether it's artist or comic book creator or gamer or whatever it is, influencer. I just wanted a full team at this table a year from today.
Yeah, I'd have to agree. I would want the Legacy Studio and our community that we're building to have made a dent in the industry. I won't call it a revolution in a year. It's going to take a lot longer than that. But I want others to strive to do better because they see there's more competition in the water and there's more representation for artists, and it's driving a better customer experience. And if that's through building exceptional content, whether that's through branding of an artist, whether that's through creating products with an artist, whether that's through driving sales that they've never seen before, all of those things combined, I think, are ultimately going to lead to the success of this community. And I am wickedly excited to be on this journey with you guys. We have spent a lot of time and work to even get to this point. So really excited for launch. There are going to be a lot more things to come. And we hope that you tag along. Find us at The Legacy Brand Studio on Instagram, thelegacystudio.com. And we'll see you next time.